according to Mike and Tony, is intended for a mature audience. Listener discretion is advised. Von Pierce. We are back at it again. I'm going to stop sharing my screen, trying to be all fancy over here. It is episode 120, sir. We're back at it. Fourth episode in 2021.
Yes, sir.
How you feeling?
I'm feeling good, man. Now that we're back at it as a regular kind of a deal. I do miss sitting across from you, though, Tony. I do miss seeing that glorious red beard in person.
You know, dude, it was funny. I was driving home today, and I caught my reflection in the mirror for a second, and I don't know if you could see it.
And you almost caused an accident?
No. Yeah, because I couldn't stop staring into my own dreamy eyes. No, dude, my beard is turning white, because I think I told you this. My biological dad, his beard was completely white by the age of 45. So I've always been fearful that was going to happen to me, and I started noticing it today. I was like, oh, shit, the white is coming. It's starting to come in right here, and
it's countdown.
Yeah, the countdown. What's up, man? It is so cool to have a really interesting guest on the show today. I'm probably gonna mispronounce your name. It's my first time meeting you. It's Fronzo Gilkey. Is that how you say your name?
Boom, Fronzo Gilkey. You got it.
I am.
You do better than most. So.
Oh, cool, man. Yeah, Mike was. He sent me some information about your stuff, and it was just really cool. To have you coming on the show today. I appreciate you being here. You're a native to Colorado. You're a big theater guy. You kind of have your hands in a lot of stuff. You guys, if I'm not mistaken, you're one of the people that started the Black Actors Guild, right?
Yeah, so it's actually a weird story. I wasn't the original founders of the Black Actors Guild, but we have a long journey. I was the youngest member of our guild when we first started, back when I was like 16 maybe. And throughout the course of those years, I kind of earned my status and my place. And through a lot of crazy shit that happened even amongst our company and within the world, the position of power was thrust upon me as more of a leadership role. And I've been rocking with it ever since. I love those people like to death. They're like family to me. So it's great to be kind of in that environment, you know?
Oh, heck yeah, man. No, it's really cool. I was pleasantly surprised. I was hoping to get a look at some of it before tonight. So Mike sent me a link to the website, and I was checking it out. And I was just super impressed. First of all, you know, just like on a visual side, your guys' website, it's super sleek, super sweet. I noticed it's a Squarespace.
Shout out to Danny Ramos.
Yeah. Danny Ramos, you said?
Danny Ramos, yes. He's our web designer. So that was all him.
Beautiful job over there. But I was really fascinated because I saw on there that you guys do all kinds of cool stuff. Maybe you can, I guess, before we jump into it, maybe you could tell us a little bit about what Black Actors Guild is all about, what you guys do.
Totally.
Foundation, yeah.
Yeah, so Black Actors Guild started back in 2009. It was made from a group of 18-year-old kids that just graduated DSA, which for anybody that doesn't know, Denver School of the Arts here in Colorado. Which is a super big, prestigious, I would say, art school. And yeah, they were probably 7 Black students that really within their time there saw that there really isn't much theater for Black actors or people of color specifically. And so they honestly just took it amongst themselves, graduating and having kind of all that inspiration and talent behind them that they learned to start an organization. And it was kind of within the name changing or making of the name of the Black Actors Guild that we wanted to throw people off, because most of our content is for anybody. And that was kind of the stigma we wanted to break, was that you don't have to be a specific way or look a specific type of way to play a specific role. So yeah, we started that journey way back then, and it's developed a lot. We used to do kind of SNL style. So we would write for a week, and then we would perform at a local theater, Crossroads Theater right here in 5 Points. And it used to be slamming. It was hot. We did that for like a whole summer. And I was 16, they were 18. So we just always had that kind of drive to inspire kind of through our art. And from that, it transitioned into more, I guess, conscientious theater. So now we do a lot of things that are surrounded by. We actually just did a play back in 2020 called Hype Man, which was the surrounding of kind of a local music group or hip hop group that was kind of on the verge of their own success, and someone in their community dies by the hands of the police, and it was kind of an internal conflict of how do we respond with this, are we super advocating for, let's get justice for this person, or do we kind of look at our light and we kind of keep building on what we've been doing? So it's changed throughout the years, but we're in, I think, about 100 schools we've taught at throughout the time, and that's our biggest thing is education. Trying to teach the youth and give that back. It's the joy. It's the joy that comes with it.
Dude, that is so beautiful, and that's what I didn't see coming when I checked out the site, and I definitely saw the education as at the forefront. I thought it was amazing. It's funny you mentioned that Hype Man. Because I was reading all about that today, and it looked fascinating. In fact, I was so interested, I clicked to buy a ticket, not realizing that it was like over a long time ago. And it was like
too late.
Yeah, a little too late, as an understatement. Yeah, I missed it by most of a year there. But no, dude, it sounded fascinating. I'm curious about stuff like that. Like, do you guys kind of write together when you do that stuff, or do you have like a main writer that puts those things together?
Yeah, so it's changed hands, I guess, throughout. As far as our content creators, right now it's myself and someone else called Quinn Marchman, wonderful cat, love the dude. We handle most of our content creation and what we're building, but as far as writing, it really comes down to the project. So usually for all of our, or I would say usually most of our performances are original content based. So we write everything in-house. When we do improv, it's all from our minds. We steal our own ideas and taking them, making them. But specifically for like Hype Man, we actually bought those from a playwright from Chicago who actually just moved here. His name is Idris Goodwin. And actually Quinn Marchman worked really, really close with him during this project, kind of as a directorial note / executive for the project. And yeah, really kind of helped bring his ideas to the project as we worked on it. So in-house, I would say there's probably like 5 of us that are all like ghostwriters, low-key. But outside of that, it's on the fly.
Oh, dude, I love that. I love so much about it, dude. I do love that there's like some activism involved in it. There's like, for tackling those tough issues, which I think we need more than ever, looking at the state of our country right now and the things we see around us. So I love that you guys are unafraid to just really dive into that stuff. And that struck me. And of course, I don't know if Mike told you, I'm a teacher as well. So and I teach middle school. I teach English language development in middle school. And so I was seeing that like you guys pick a school and stuff like that. And you guys have been so involved with so many different schools. Dude, I think that's pure magic. And I would love to at some point get involved or in any way get you guys involved with my classroom or get my classrooms involved with you guys.
Please, I would love to. Also, shout out to you for teaching, because that's a hard ass thing to do, especially the middle schoolers. I've had a lot of them come around. And boy, I can only handle them for like an hour. So props.
Yeah, totally, man. Thanks, dude. I appreciate that. Yeah, I love my job. I love working with middle schoolers. But you're absolutely right. That's why I'm glad the classes are about 51 minutes. So
right.
It's only so much at a time. But I just thought that was really cool. I didn't see that coming. When I heard Black Actors Guild, I was like, okay, a bunch of theater people, sounds cool. I'll check it out. It's funny how our minds always do that. You just got this immediate, you've got these stereotypes or this image in your head of what you're going to find. And when I went on there, it was so amazing to see how much work you guys have done. So again, man, I appreciate you coming on here and sharing this stuff with us.
No, again, thank you. Like, honestly, the funniest thing is a lot of people kind of get that with the Black Actors Guild. They're like, oh my gosh, you guys do so much. And when it comes down to like the nuts and bolt of it all, we're just like goofy nerds that like to make art,
Yeah, and I think we're seeing that pattern in our society in general anymore. When you look at things like me and Mike always talk about the Joe Rogan show, you see these like things out there where it's just people just being themselves. And those old school days, you know, where everything's scripted and everything is like well planned out, and there's, you know, you're thinking about your demographic all the time and your market and all this kind of stuff. And I think the best thing is you just have real people being honest and authentic, creating art, putting stuff out there, not being afraid to speak to issues that are happening. And I think the world needs more of it. So it was a pleasant surprise stumbling across all that stuff.
Truly, you're right on target. Like, honestly, from my point of view, once you start adding like sponsorships and all that money involved, you lose so much of that authenticity within that art and that craft that it's not as fun, you know?
Yeah, 100%. Good art, I don't think, is too calculated. It's more just created, you know.
Yeah. I remember when we first started on the podcast, Dollar, and we were so worried about streams and listens and how we were going to outreach all this stuff. And then finally we were just like, if people want to listen, they'll listen.
Right.
Absolutely, because I think it gets in your head, you know, when you're always looking at that. It kind of happens, I think, with people in social media and stuff too. You know, you get addicted to those likes, and you know, you put your post up and you want to see, and it's literally, you know, a chemical reaction in your brain that's happening. We've talked about this on the show many times, where you're getting like a dopamine hit, you know, from checking that stuff. And so then when you go to create the actual thing, whatever it is, a podcast, a play, a movie, anything, that's going to be on your mind, because you're like, oh, I remember last time I did this, we didn't get as many likes. You know, they liked it better when we did this. And that's been kind of at the center of our show for a while now. It's just, we just get together and
trying to go off your last performance and you think you're better than that one.
Yeah, totally, dude, totally. Hey, did I see it right? Did you at some point, did you get into stand-up comedy at all?
Yeah. Oh God, I shouldn't have. No. Yeah, so we used to have a theater. We had an office space before on 14th and Williams inside this church that was more spiritual than religious. And in the bottom of it, we built a black box theater with our own hands. And with that, we did a lot of shows on our own, a lot of improv, but we did a series of stand-up shows, which all of us tried to do stand-up. One of our members, Danny Ramos, actually, he's the best stand-up I personally know in Colorado. So he's hilarious. So he was our biggest motivation. We all were young and cocky, and we're like, yeah, we can do stand-up. That's easy. What? So I tried it. Honestly, I want to get back at it probably within the summertime once things starts opening back up. But it's difficult. I will say that. It is not
no
fun.
doubt. I'm always pushing Pierce. I've told him for years I think he would make a good stand-up comedian. I'm always pushing him. Right? But it's
with his
just,
personality, it would come off so easy.
Oh yeah, totally, because he's so natural. But I think so much of what it is people, it looks easy when people look at it, because somehow they pull off that natural thing too. But I follow a lot of comedians. I love stand-up comedy. That's kind of why I was digging into that with you. I'm excited that you're actually going to try and get out there and get back into it. I would come out 100%. I'll come out and check out a show.
Hell yeah. Hey, I'll let you know.
Yeah. And actually, I was going to say, Pierce, because I noticed, I don't know if you guys have any shows coming up, Fronzo, but I thought it was pretty dope that you guys also do like the live streaming thing, or at least you did for Hype Man, right?
Yeah. Actually, that was our first interaction or kind of time to even play with virtual, was in the storm of Hype Man. That's just when the whole world was going under quarantine, and we knew we couldn't make our budget selling tickets for only like 20 people a show. But yeah, we actually did also a web series / kind of podcast where it was called what was it? Guild Talk Radio, in which we all got together and we did basically improv and kind of debate / discussion through Zoom as well. And we did that one for about, I think, 4 months or so. So we got about 12 episodes all down. We would try to do it once a week. But outside of that, it's been really difficult, honestly, trying to find gigs to go through during this time. It's all over the place. So there's been some places where we're able to go in there, but there's only 2 of us allowed, and we have to do a show inside of a crowd of like 6, and then you leave. And then other times they try to have you make a whole video to send to them. I think we actually did that for MTV over the election time. They called us up and they're like, hey, we would like for you guys to make kind of just some awareness videos that are low-key funny as well. And we just virtually sent those to them and streamed over there in California. So you get gigs where they come, you know?
Yeah, dude, I love that. I love that, and I kind of get some of that. I'm a musician. I've been playing music for a long time too.
Nice.
I've,
What instrument?
I play guitar, sing. I'm a songwriter. Pretty much
That's
into, I don't know, my
sexy.
reggae music.
You got the sexy instrument.
Yeah, right. The one that gets all the credit. But yeah, no. So I understand, and I haven't really been performing since I started teaching a couple years ago. I've really the guitar has kind of gone by the wayside. I haven't. The last performance I did, I don't even know, Pierre. It's been at least a year, probably 2 years, maybe.
Yeah.
Since I've done anything on stage. But I think a lot about my fellow musicians right now and my fellow artists that are out there, because this has put a real damper on the situation. Not being able to. I mean, the whole point is to get crowds together. And to not be able to do that. I love that you guys are still doing it though, because I think a lot of people just kind of hung it up and are just sort of chilling. I like that you guys have sort of been pushing through and trying to do your best.
Yeah, you know, we're just like a group of hustlers from the first one up to all the way down our rank. We try to, and that's also a thing that since we've grown up here in Colorado and as a business for so many years, we know a lot of these artists. So knowing that in the back of our mind, like I'm struggling, so I know they're probably struggling. It's good to know you can do something to try to help someone be able to pay their bills, you know, be able to put food on the table if it's just a small gig that's worth $200. So we're super about just the community and trying to make it a means for everybody to live, you know, sustainably and nice.
Dollar, if I'm not mistaken, like when I was looking at their website at the squad, they have a lady on there by the name of Kayla Marquis.
Yes.
And I want to say, Dollar, that she was one of our guests at FarmCAD.
What was her name?
Does that name sound familiar?
Say the name again.
Kayla Marquis.
Oh yes, Kayla, definitely. She performed at FarmCAD 2 different times.
Yep.
A solo acoustic artist.
Yep.
Yeah, I really enjoyed her music. We connected quite a bit, actually. We talked about getting together. She was, if I'm not mistaken, she was kind of just starting out then. I remember she had a mom with her and stuff that was promoting her.
Her mom was with her, yeah.
Heck yeah, I totally remember her.
So that's what I was thinking. I was like, when I was going through the squad, and I was like, wait a second. It's like, we know this girl. I was like, this is Kayla. She performed at FarmCAD. That's when she was starting out.
Yeah, did we do an interview with her too? I don't remember.
We did like a brief interview with her, and I think I tried to go back and listen to the old FarmCAD episodes, but those are like 3-4 years back. Yeah.
Okay. And all those are so long, and there's like so many interviews spliced into those. Like, good luck finding that thing. I'll see if I can dig it out though. Maybe we could put it on the reverb or something.
Yeah,
that's pretty cool, man. Dang, what a small world.
I know. I remember she used to literally serenade a whole group of like 75 people in a small little theater with just twinkly lights around her, and it was amazing. So
beautiful.
Yeah, Kayla Marquis. Beautiful soul.
Shout out to Kayla. I want to kind of see what she's up to lately. I want to go take a look.
She actually her and another friend of ours called Sir Els, they just put a full kind of band together, and I think their album released yesterday.
Oh wow!
Oh, beautiful.
Yeah, it's called
definitely have to
the
check
Grand Alliance, I think.
Okay, maybe even we'll reach out to her, Mike. It'd be cool to kind of bring her back.
Definitely.
Yeah, I kind of want to touch base with a lot of musicians right now, just see what everybody's doing, how they're holding up, and it's just been a struggle.
Those are the ones that I think I feel a little less bad for, because musicians, you can make music anywhere and just stream it out to us all. So I know live performance is a way different thing, but I'm like, oh man, it must be easy to be a musician just a little bit.
No, you got a solid point there for sure. Yeah, comedy too, because I know that for a while there's even stand-up comedians trying to do the Zoom thing, which is yikes. You know, that's
because you can't read an audience on a Zoom call. You know what I mean? Like,
I'll tell you, when my middle school. Go ahead, Fronzo. I didn't mean to cut you off.
Oh no, I was riffing. I was going on, but you were saying.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, when my middle school classes switched to online, that is some of those are the most awkward situations I've ever been in my life, because everybody's got their mics muted. You know, like in a theater, you can hear every sound when the crowd's kind of collectively making noises, whether good or bad. You can kind of feel that and vibe off of it. But when you're in a Zoom and everybody's muted and they're just watching you, it's just kind of awkward for stand-up comedians in particular, but also I imagine improv, all that stuff.
It's weird performing. Like, honestly, you grow up kind of, at least for me, I grew up getting used to performing in front of small audiences for a good portion of our like first bring up. We didn't have but maybe like 12 people. And then we got to being comfortable with like 75 and 100 people. So then to go back down to only being like 20, it's very weird. It's very uncomfortable. You're like, oh yeah, I still enjoy like everybody's energy that they bring. And I think honestly, it's a little bit more intimate now than it was before. But to that same degree, it's I miss those days where you could be like, oh yeah, let's just all cheer and let's bang out. I'm teaching classes right now. I have a group of 3rd and 4th graders that I'm working with. And yeah, online is a lot different as far as teaching. It is way harder.
Yeah, way harder. And I think one thing I noticed, because you were talking about how tough middle schoolers can be, is they're way easier online though. Like the problem online is engagement and getting people to talk and engage in the conversations. But you don't have the same stuff. You don't have people throwing stuff in class or, messing around, getting out of their seat and, jacking around in some other way. So we got rid of that. So that was a weird transition for me, was seeing like all these students that I had last year that were just crazy in class, you know what I mean? And then all of a sudden in the Zoom setting, they were totally different. They're really quiet. They're kind of shyer to speak. And yeah.
All of a sudden, everybody was good for you, Tony.
Yeah. Well, I could turn it off so they can't chat with each other. Yeah. Yeah, it's just so nuts. One thing with the music I think about was like watching like all the inauguration stuff. I was watching all the, the performances or whatever. And I was thinking about like these big shot musicians that are really making bank, and they're I'm sure they're struggling right now to a certain extent, but they're pretty much sitting on a lot of their history. But it was crazy to watch because so many times like Super Bowl performances and big performances like at inaugurations and stuff, it's like you're always just a little nervous whenever I watch them. I'm a little nervous for them because stuff can go wrong so quickly and so easily. And it can be anything from a sound issue to a flub from the vocalist or whatever. But watching the inauguration, I was like, these lucky bastards, like everything is pre-recorded. Like you all sounded stellar. Like everything was totally amazing, I was trying to explain it. No one really notices that too. I was telling one of my fellow teachers, I was trying to tell my wife, I was like, well, they got it pretty good because they could pre-record everything and then they're basically lip syncing. And they're just like, really? I'm like, you don't notice how amazing that sounds? Like the perfect amount of reverb.
I don't think they planned this out.
Or especially like.
But to be fair though, like Lady Gaga does sound like amazing live though.
Oh no doubt. I'm not taking anything away from any of those musicians. They just it's like that extra polish, you know what I mean? Like not a single missed note, like nothing.
They got to take out the birds in the background and stuff, so it's like pristine.
Yeah, absolutely. But in a way, I guess you could make the argument what you were saying too, Fronzo. It takes a little bit of that like rawness out of it, that raw, authentic.
Well, it also was weird, like, like New Year's and stuff. I mean, we didn't have a chance to talk about that, like dropping the ball and stuff. Did anybody watch any New Year stuff?
No.
Like I watched like some of the balls drop. You could go to like to different channel and see like different people performing and stuff like that. This year, nothing, man. I mean, they did have like everybody was like live streaming from their house and like doing different things. So it was like a different setting, and you're just like, damn, dude. And like the streets of New York were just empty.
I did see that.
When they were dropping the ball. And and then it was funny because my wife was watching the Garth Brooks Christmas special, dude, and it was like live, and it was out of their house, so it was him and his wife, and it was just like it was weird and awkward because it was like there'd get times where it was just be like quiet, and then he'd start like playing on the guitar, like.
Yeah,
that's something I'm noticing. Like all the streaming performances from people's houses, I'm like, they have some nice houses,
right?
Right. Like you're doing all right.
You're doing all right. Like, is that marble back there?
Yeah.
Or then when you start seeing people doing it from their actual studios in their house, then you're like, damn, dude.
Yeah, I'm like, oh wow, rub it in.
Yeah, no doubt. That whole thing did seem weird. I didn't see anything New Year's Eve night, but I don't know if I was reading or maybe I did watch a little bit of the stream the next day, like Mario Lopez with the, what's the parade? The New Year's Day parade or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was watching that and that was so weird. He was like, it looked like he was literally sitting on his bed. I'm like, he's got his dog. He's all petting his dog in his lap. I'm like, this is crazy, man. We were living in a movie or something. Can't believe that.
Yeah.
And what's up with that dude? Like, he has not aged at all. Like he looks like he's still on what was Saved by the Bell or whatever.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah.
Still does.
He looks exactly the same. It's kind of weird.
They have to have a full like nutritionist. They pay at least $20 million a year to.
Yeah.
I don't know how they're doing it. Otherwise, besides surgery.
Yeah, no doubt. He does look a little funny. Maybe he's got some surgery. I don't know. Speculation. I don't know. No idea.
No, he takes IGF, you guys.
What do you got?
That's what he takes.
That looks like my CBD, bro. What is that?
It's a deer antler velvet.
Deer antler velvet. Okay.
Yeah, it helps with recovery and stuff like that.
What is it? Is that a spray or?
Yeah, it's a spray. You just spray it under your tongue.
Oh, okay. Yeah, just like
so. It's a anti-aging, kind of like muscle healer-ish kind of a deal. So.
Just
what happens if you take too much?
They have different levels.
Okay.
There's like 10,000. There's 25,000, and there's 75,000. I only take 10,000.
Gotcha.
But they have like stuff that is like crazy out there. But yeah, I mean, you're supposed to spray like 3 times in your mouth 3 times a day.
Okay.
And I use it because I honestly feel like it helps me because like my shoulder, like I haven't had any issues with my shoulder since using this stuff. And so I used to get like a little pinch. Remember Dollar? Like you.
Oh yeah.
A little pinch. And so, but now I have no issues at all.
And that coincided with when you started taking that stuff?
Yep.
Oh, dope.
And that's deer antler velvet was supposedly what Ray Lewis used when he broke his arm and came back so quickly that year.
Oh, okay.
Now, hold up though. Is that the name of it, or that's literally what did you call it?
It's deer antler velvet.
Is that literally what it is? It comes off. Yep. It's that stuff off. Really?
Yep.
I feel like I might have heard about that before.
Cool,
yeah. So.
Hey, where'd you get it from? Where can I go grab some?
Online.
Oh, okay.
You can go on. You can like there's supplement stores that have it and everything like that too. So it's not like illegal or anything, you know.
Dark web.
Shady ass one. Get some rhino horn there too.
Let me get some of that. Let me get some of that ivory lotion.
Dude, I'm noticing your shirt. Can you hold that shirt up for me? I kind of want to see what your shirt says, Pierce.
Oh yeah, Fronzo was asking earlier.
The Dadalorian, like a dad, just way cooler. See, also handsome, exceptional. The only reason I ask is my shirt here. I've got Super Dad, but it's like,
dang, dude, we're just a bunch of old dudes.
Yeah, I'm wearing old dude shirts. I've got that other one.
Shirts. I'm not a dad, so I can't wear one.
Oh, you could join the club. You're welcome.
Honorary member. I'll take it.
Honorary member. Inducted tonight, this moment. No, dude, and remember I had that other one that's Fothor. It's like Thor, but stupid, cheesy.
That's
joke.
tight.
My students have realized I love stupid, cheesy dad jokes, so they're always putting them in the chat now for me. Here's another one for you. Like,
that's best.
Funny because some of the kids get pissed. They're like, "That is ridiculous." You know,
that's ridiculous. Come on,
stop it.
So Fronzo, I forgot if you fully answered that. Do you guys have anything coming up, or is there any kind of way we could go to a show or catch something streaming?
Yeah. So we're actually in a crazy, I think, kind of with the new year starting and how last year ended, not knowing how we're going to go into it with COVID and quarantine. We're taking the beginning part of this year kind of for some internal reflection and building. We're kind of reworking our team, restructurizing our team into some new departments. So shows wise, we're on hold for the time, but we do have a lot of things that have been in the works. So like, I know me personally, I'm a part of a project that low key is tied to the Black Actors Guild, just because it's one of our other members, Quinn. We do a lot of things together. You'll see me and that man's face everywhere. But yeah, we have a show coming up in March, actually through this group called Rainbow Militia, and they're a really sick group. They do a lot of circus acts and things, but they also bring storytelling along with the journey. We've worked with them prior back in October for the show we did that was called Death's Unraveling, which was like an immersive haunted house that told the story or / celebration of death. And it had like 9 different rooms that were all occupied by different artists, and you kind of made your own story, figured out how you circulated, and you used your art within that form. So they're bringing another show back called Celestial Chaos, which is surrounding Greek mythology. And it's going to be really, really dope. They're actually using a lot more aerialists, juggling, other circus acts that I can't think of right now. But yeah, it's going to be really sick. I'm working out with the ladder, like a
Wow.
16 feet tall ladder that's going to be off the ground. So
Damn,
Nice.
that sounds
Yeah.
dope. I think I saw some of that because I checked out your Facebook page too. And I saw
Okay.
something about that. That looked pretty crazy.
Yeah.
Even just the makeup alone looked pretty ridiculous. So
yeah,
that's
they're talented folks. They're working with some people called Shiki Dreams and Priz Magic, which are also Denver local artists that are on some really, really dope stuff. They made, actually, I think they have a spot right next to East High School. And it's a little immersive theater, and they make everything in-house from, I think, recycled material, if I'm not mistaken. But you would never tell the difference.
Oh man, that's amazing. I like everything
Yeah.
about that. That's cool. Maybe we could check it out in March, Pierce. I made a note of that here.
Yeah, well, I always like when Fronzo posts this, like the pictures and stuff, like the "Are We Still Cool" stuff that he did. He had that all over his Instagram, and I don't know if you checked that out on their website, but a lot of that stuff was super unique and very artistic. And the photos, man, those are like super clear HD photos that whoever took those with, man.
Oh, well, thanks. Yeah, Are We Still Cool was a project that was done by the creative content or creative director was Christina Pitaluga, which she is also part of the Black Actors Guild. But yeah, it was kind of this thought of redefining or relooking at male strength and masculinity and kind of the forms in which it shows. Boom, all these
Yep.
pictures right here. So yeah, they had a lot of different people from a lot of different backgrounds and ways they identified, in which we just kind of sat together, talked about what it is to be a male, where a lot of our strengths come from, a lot of the people that we get those from, a lot of ways that we still lack, being able to be in touch with our more feminine side or even masculine side. So we did this wonderful thing within, I think, 2 days. We shot all these photos and we had the people come in, and this actually happened right before COVID. I think this happened. Yeah, this happened March of last year. So right before everything got shut down, mid-March, we got that project out, and it's been really dope. We had it over at Coffee at the Point, down in 5 Points for a little while, and then you can see that we're obviously selling copies for a lot of money.
No, it's dope, man. I love it. I thought that looks really amazing too. Dude, you got your hands in all kinds of stuff. You're obviously clearly a very creative person. What drives you to create? Like, where do you think you get like your inspiration from, or like what's your real purpose? Like, what makes you want to be so creative? Or maybe it comes naturally?
To be honestly, I think acting and being within the realm of acting has always spoken to me, just as even as a kid. But I think the moment I noticed that I needed to do this and able to like be a person was around, honestly, I want to say like 9th grade. I remember I took off a whole year. I didn't do any acting because I was going to be a freshman, and I was like, no, I got studies and other shit to do. And I remember after that whole year, I just looked at myself and I wasn't the same person. Like I was super introverted, and I didn't talk as much, and I was very quiet, which I've always been like a quiet person, but outside the normal. So I was like, damn, I just feel off. And then ever since then, I felt a calling. Like every time I'm on stage, there's that flow state. There's that flow energy you feel to where everything's moving right, everything's working. You don't feel that all the time, but when I do, it makes sense for everything else that I'm doing in the world, And I think just throughout that time, it's helped me express so many other avenues that I wouldn't before. Because I mean, being an actor allows me to play so many characters that me myself, maybe I wouldn't have thought of their perspective, or how they would do stuff. So it's really helped me as far as seeing the world in a bigger picture, and the ways we connect, and the different ways that everybody can be in a situation or do a certain thing if motivated in the right way or wrong way, you know? So I love the stories too. Like telling a story, there's so many different ways to do it. That's why we love National Geographic and all the Mandalorian, all these other ways that they tell the story. That's one thing I just always wanted to do is figure out different ways to tell a story for communities I would want to be from, or like I feel I am a part of, you know?
Oh, that's dope, dude. I love that you mentioned too as being an actor, like you get to try on all these different personalities and stuff. I acted in high school. I did a lot of theater, ninth grade through my senior year, and then that was pretty much it. I just stopped doing it. But I remember that was so fun and exciting, like getting to know whatever character you're playing and like becoming someone else in some way. That's really
Yeah.
cool, dude. Sounds like it's just in you.
Yeah, I remember being super. I think that honestly threw me off because you're super young, you don't know what world is, you don't know what careers are specifically. So like, I remember growing up, and I totally thought acting was something different. I thought you just got on stage and you did whatever the fuck you wanted to do, and they were like, "Oh yeah, great job, great job." And then finding out that it's difficult work. And honestly, I think if I was as smart to know how difficult it is now, I wouldn't have done this as a kid. I would have been like, nah, I'll just be a carpenter or
Yeah.
drugs.
Yeah, that is interesting. Interesting to think that if you knew then what you know now, you may not have ever
Yeah,
embarked
you
on it in
know.
the first place.
But it's a wonderful journey. I'm glad, and obviously, it's led to wonderful avenues like being on your guys' show. So I'll take it. You know.
Heck yeah, dude. No, I love it. Mike, I'm curious, did you ever do anything like that in high school? Did you ever get into acting or any artsy type of stuff or?
No, I mean,
Nah.
no.
Straight
I
no.
mean, so like in high school, like when I was like running for like vice president and stuff like that for like student council and everything like that, I like recorded and did my own like videos. You know, you do like promotional videos that you had, and a lot of my video was edited, and they didn't allow a lot of the stuff at the time. One of the things that they took out, it was funny because that was when Bill Clinton was getting impeached for the the whole I did not have sexual relations with Miss Lewinsky. And so there was, one of the things that I said was like, I said that I'll never take any bribes. I'll never be influenced by anybody. And I had money pop up from underneath the desk. And I was like painted nails, and I was all like that. And they took that away. And so, yeah, I didn't win.
I didn't.
That's cool.
But no, like the same kind of line. Like, it's so funny because like I've always been interested in. I want shorts. Like Matt Weitzel, one of our previous guests, Tony. Tony, you worked with him.
Oh, yeah.
We'd talked about writing like little sketches and little shorts of like commercials and stuff. We talked about like this leprechaun laundry detergent and how it was so magical and this and that, and we came up with all these different things. But yeah, that's always still something I've kind of always wanted to pursue and maybe do is kind of write little sketches or shorts.
Honestly, you should, because from even the small conversations we've had, you have the stories there. And I hate traditional theater. Like growing up, it's very difficult to get behind. But like you figure it out as you go along. And even writing sketches now, I personally am that level of a writer. As far as how I format my writing, I don't think it's traditional. Like I'm sure if I went to college, they'd be like, "Oh, this is terrible. This looks." But putting the words on the paper, it all seems to work out.
Yeah.
Maybe we get a little something going in the summer, Pierce. When I've got some more free time, I'd be down to do something like that. That sounds fun.
There you go. Yeah.
Maybe we can pull in some of these masters over here. Maybe we get Fronzo involved with us and put a little light on what the hell we're doing. Yeah, it's funny. That was interesting to hear, Mike. Just the fact I was, first of all, just shocked. I didn't even know. I just learned that about you. I didn't know you ever ran for office, like in high school and stuff like that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I was in like, I was in FBLA. I was in, student council and everything like that. So, I mean, I did get on to student council, but it was obviously like a lesser of a role. But yeah, I was like in a lot of clubs and it's pretty social.
That's pretty cool. I think it's hilarious. You thought you could get away with like the money thing.
I mean, I was trying to be like,
As kids, you do think you're invincible. So I will say that's do what I want.
Let's just say I was ahead of my time, you guys. I was ahead of my time.
I was ahead of my time. I knew what was happening.
They weren't ready for me. They weren't ready.
They weren't ready.
Something we always do, Mike, we got to ask the question, right?
Yeah.
Every time we have a guest that's never been on the show, we always have to get this question in here. So if you were stuck on a desert island, I don't know how old you are, but a lot of times people get stuck on the album thing because so many people just listen to singles and stuff like that now.
Okay.
But if you were on a desert island, you have everything you need to survive the rest of your life. You're comfortable. You got food and shelter and all that good stuff. And you have a way to listen to music. However, you only get one album for the rest of your life. What is your album?
Jeez. Okay. That's difficult.
Yeah. People hate this question because we just drop it on you and then we're like, go. And it's like, you got to think about it for a minute. Like, hold up.
I think I have my answer, but okay. Can I hear yours first?
Yeah.
Is that against the rules?
Dollar, go ahead.
Mine is Bob Marley's Catch a Fire. It came out in 1973. It's a fire album. It's got Concrete Jungle. It's got some great songs on it. And I feel like I used to have that. I used to have a little pickup truck I drove around and I had it on cassette in there. And I would literally just listen to it over. I mean, I listened to it for years over and over. So I know I could tolerate it for a very long time. That's mine. Go ahead, Pierce.
And mine is Everyone Always Gets Surprised About It. But the people that really know me aren't surprised because they know I like music a lot. Mine is Earth, Wind, and Fire, Gratitude. So,
yeah.
So me and Tony are both like 70s style.
Yeah. Dang. Y'all make me want to switch my era. I'm gonna say what I have. I'm gonna say Frank Ocean's Blonde.
Ooh.
That Frank Ocean's Blonde album, I don't know, that gets me through any time, no matter what I'm going through.
Okay.
I'm happy, I'm sad, I'm angry. Put on some Frank Ocean Blonde, I'm gonna be chill.
Yeah. It's one of the things you got to think through, right? Because it's like the only music you're ever going to hear on the island ever again.
Entire time.
Yeah, so you got to have something like that.
You also have to think like enough records so that it doesn't get boring, at least 12. That's what I think. You have to at least have 12 records.
Oh yeah, definitely. You got to have plus, and on your album, you got to have lots of tracks, right? You can't have. You can't have like you can't have an EP.
Got 4 tracks.
I thought what used to make me mad though, like back in the day when you did buy like a CD or an album or anything like that, and you bought it because of one particular song that was fire, and you're like, yeah, dude, this song is dope. This whole album is gonna be dope, and then you play the whole album, and you're like, damn, I just paid $14 for a single.
That was a real problem. That used to be a real problem in music, right? Because that was the whole idea. They'd sell you on this one song and then they just throw a bunch of fluff in there and sell it as an album. And really, quite frankly, you're literally right. It was meant to be a single. That's what it should have been in the first place.
Wasted all that money.
It's kind of cool now though, because I think a lot of that's going away because music has really, really changed. Usually when we ask that question, a lot of people do struggle with the album thing because they're like, I don't really listen to albums. Not very many people still listen to albums, especially younger people like my kids and stuff. They're like, album? Like, what are you talking about?
It's hard to find a good album out here, like especially as music, like you're saying, as music progresses. I would even when you gave the question to me, I was like, oh man, I don't want to give any artist that I've listened to in the past like 2 years, because even though I love them, I don't know where I'm gonna listen to them in the next 5 to 7. But it's really hard. I would say even now, I can only think of maybe 2 artists that are even relevant that I would listen to their entire like track without skips. But outside of that, I was going to go Michael Jackson. That was going to be my second choice. Really, personally.
That's Moe's.
Was it?
PYT.
Was it Moe's?
It was. I think so.
I don't even remember. I don't remember.
What was this? I thought.
Maybe. I don't
yeah.
know. He's a 70s guy, so I would have thought it was something like that, but I don't know. I could see it. That's not a bad way to go at all, man. One of the
I think that's also Bruce Leroy's, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
I think Bruce Leroy did say that. Yep.
Yep.
Yeah, it's not a bad way to go. One of the greatest of all times. What a talented dude that guy was, man. Singing, dancing, everything all combined. Just pure fire.
I mean, I was reading facts on that thing that it was still like the most, like it was still in the Billboard Top 100 as of like just like a couple of years ago. Still, like
makes sense.
Yeah,
he was the king of pop for a reason.
Yeah, he was a smart dude too. Like he bought didn't he own all the Beatles stuff? He bought all the Beatles stuff.
Yeah.
Did I get that backwards, or was it Paul? No, I believe it was. I believe Michael Jackson.
He Sony had sold all their stuff to. Sold it all off, and then Michael Jackson bought it all.
Gotcha.
Yeah, crazy to be Michael Jackson and also own all the Beatles stuff. Like, it's a giant chunk of music history there.
Super flex.
And I own all the Beatles stuff. What's up? No, dude, I think back to albums for a second. I really think there was an art to it. Like when I say Catch a Fire, I really love it. Like it like builds, you know what I mean? Like each song kind of leads into the next one. They're all sort of connected. And I feel like that doesn't happen anymore. It's really about the one hit and the song. And truly, I guess it kind of was for a lot of artists, especially in like, I don't know, probably from the 90s and through the early 2000s. That's really what was happening until we finally just fully embraced as a society. We just like singles. We like MP3 players when those were coming out and everything. And it's like you just have your playlist where you put all your favorite stuff together. And like you said, you don't always listen to the same thing. But I'm an old dude. I will listen to Bob Marley albums just back to back to back to back, and then the next day put them on again. But I do listen to a lot of other music too. But there used to be a real art to that, putting it together. It was almost like a movie, you know, like it would take you through a series of emotions.
The inserts and everything too.
Oh yeah,
limitals, the little.
And I always liked all the stuff in between songs too, like Doggy Style. Like if you listen to that album, like there's the in between stuff where they're talking.
Yeah. You gotta love the ad libs. I'm telling you, artists stopped getting creative. They started thinking that, oh, let me just put out songs instead of let me put out like a body of work. Let me put out something that's a concept that has meanings. I think the last person I heard recently was Giveon. His latest album was, I think, called Take Time, something like Take Time. That was the last thing I heard that had an actual like fluid story or concept throughout the whole thing where you're like, oh, okay, these songs mean something and they kind of relate to each other.
Yeah, absolutely. Kind of have like that coherent theme all throughout.
Yeah, like Kendrick did with Butterfly.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, it does still happen. Some artists still do embrace it, but increasingly less and less.
I think Kendrick Lamar does it pretty good too, where he does a whole body of work.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
There's a few gems out here we still got.
Yeah.
For sure. It's not totally gone. But I think so much of it was it's happened in a lot of industries, really. It's that calculation. And you get a team, right? So instead of like me sitting in my basement writing, or like when I hung out with Dom, remember we're writing together and we're sitting there coming up with music. You get these teams of people, you know, and they've studied this and they've calculated and they're looking at all these demographics, they're looking at these numbers, and they're like, okay, no, actually, could you make the hook a little bit? Can you take it up? I want it to sound a little more like this.
If you speed up the tempo, we'll get like 10% more audience members.
Yeah, right. And that's the problem, right? You get all these non-creative people involved in the creative process, and that's really what kills it and just destroys everything, because not only does it take the authenticity out, but it just turns it into a business model. It's like a mathematical calculation.
Yeah.
And you get these
pile of mush. It's honestly the same thing happening for a lot of like bigger movies. You know, all these people are fans that are coming out saying that they hated what they did to the content or what happened. Like, for example, the Star Wars series. I know a lot of people hated how they really told the story for that. And it's like, well, you have people that wanted to get the movie out quicker and wanted to sell certain products, so they kind of rushed things along and they switched out the editing so that it's not the same movie you expected it to be.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. Comes back to what we were talking about. You know, to me, creativity is like, dude, kids get it better than anybody else. It's like just having fun. Like it's the act of having fun, making something out of nothing. Like, to me, that's pure magic, and that's the magic of it. But when
they're so bold with it.
Yeah,
like,
absolutely.
They don't care.
Dude, I had one assignment I had my students do was this I am poem. where I gave them sort of a loose template to work from, and they just had to write a poem about expressing who they were in different ways. And dude, my mind was blown, because it wasn't so much that it was like this beautiful, perfect poem type of thing. It was just that it was so raw, so real, honest, from the heart. And it was like experiences. There's no way somebody could have just made this up. Like, this is coming from real life experience, straight from their heart onto the paper. Yeah,
those are the moments right there too, where you're like, this is life. This is those good, juicy moments that you don't get anywhere else. That authenticity.
Yeah.
Back in the day, they had that real funny one, the John Mayer, and I always make fun of Tony because Tony likes John Mayer, and then I started to like him too because Tony was like showing me like, dude, he's like he's a good musician, look at this. I'm like, okay, I was like, he's all right, but he has this one thing he did a long time ago, a sketch on College Humor. And it was talking about like, the ins and out of making a John Mayer song. And they had like people in there. And what was it? Who's in this skit? Like Jay McCool, like all these people are in it. And they're like, okay, so let's sit down. They're all brainstorming at this table. And he was like, man loves woman. Man tries to get with woman. Man confesses love to woman. And, a nice little guitar riff in there. Let's see how that goes. And then John Mayer like looks at them. He's like, why can't we just do something that's a little bit more relatable to the people? Like, like when you're fucking a supermodel and then you don't call her back the next day. Because you know what? Let's go with that. Roll that up and let's do that.
And he was like, didn't he have like the roller shoes on for the whole episode?
Yeah, he had Heelys on. And he was like, in his Bluetooth, he had 2 Bluetooths in his ears. So he was like John Mayer here. Yeah, John Mayer. And he was just like, go back.
Dude, he's actually
secretary, and his secretary had a tight white T-shirt, and it says, "My body is your wonderland."
Oh yeah, he's actually surprisingly funny, dude. He's got a pretty good sense of humor.
Yeah, I remember I saw John Mayer on, I think it was Dave Chappelle's show one of the first times.
Yeah, with the black.
Yeah, that was one of the funniest sketches. I was like, okay, this is hilarious.
Yeah.
Have you seen that one, Dollar?
No, I haven't.
So it's one where it was like, what happens if rock and roll music is presented to people, white people, in random places? And he was like, down, 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 down. He's like playing like some rock riff, right? And then all these people are like, yeah, they like start getting
raging
rowdy.
Like a cubicle office.
Yeah. They're all getting rowdy, and like ladies are like taking off their shirts and everything, and like throwing it around. And then he was like trying different things, and he's like now they go to a barber shop and they do that, and they start playing like the rock and roll music, and like all the like barbers are like this, like just looking at him play the guitar, like what is he doing?
Right. Like, add some drums.
Yeah. He goes, now let's put some drums in here, and then it Questlove popped out of nowhere. Oh, yeah. He started playing the drums, and then everyone's like, "Oh dang, yeah!" And then like they were like, "Now let's add a little bit of saxophone, and let's see what that does with the Latinos." And all of a sudden, the Latinos are all like dancing around.
God, I do miss that show. Talk about bold. Talk about authentic and creative, man.
Yeah.
He really didn't think he was going to have, after the first season, I'm sure he thought it was going to get canceled.
Yeah, I guarantee that. No, it's and you know what's sad about that too is him talking about it. I know you know this, Pierce, but like he doesn't make a dime off of that anymore. Because they were streaming it. I was bummed out because remember, Pierce, I just discovered it was on Netflix, and I'm like, holy shit, I'm gonna watch all of it. And I started going through the episodes, and then one day I went back and it was just gone, and I was like, what happened? But then I heard the backstory where Chappelle was talking about it, and he was saying he reached out to Netflix because he was like, yo, do you guys realize that I don't make shit on this? Like, they took the whole thing from me. Like every bit of money is going straight to it's Comedy Central, right? Or
yeah,
it is Comedy Central, I think. And so, I mean, that's a sad thing. But what was really cool about it was Netflix, because he was like, listen, I don't have any legal right or anything. I just think it's kind of fucked up that you're playing it. And I appreciate it if you would take it off of your platform. And Netflix was like, you got it, Dave. And they took it off.
Well, because he signed a multi, deal with them, with Netflix themselves. So he has exclusive stand up only through them. So yeah, they were like, oh yeah, we'll do that.
We don't want to mess up our other money. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. Maybe I'm being a little optimistic. Maybe there was some financial motivations there as well. But I did find a really cool YouTube video of Chappelle explaining the whole thing. It came out recently too. I think he just put it out like in 2020 or something like that. Actually, if you haven't, go check out Dave Chappelle shit from 2020 on YouTube. He's got a few things on there that are just fire, dude. Like some of it's super funny and some of it's just him talking and like telling. And that's one of them. He's telling the story about like how he was young and dumb and he got into this dumb contract. And then he had this show just explode. And then they just took the whole thing from him. And he was like, yo, I'm out. And that's when he went to Africa and all that. So he talks about all that stuff, which is really, really interesting. But I like to think that those things are going away, like those big industries where they just kind of corrupt all that stuff. And you hope that, with the advent of the internet coming along and making everything accessible to everybody, stuff like us doing this, Pierce, can you imagine trying to do this show in 1993, trying to get like on the radio or something like that?
Cut it off right now.
Hey, it's the Mike and Tony show. Where you got to keep all your sponsors happy and all that kind of bullshit. Yeah.
Well, I mean, for a while we were, I think I told that this to you, Fronzo. For a while we were on a Detroit radio, and Tony had to go through like every episode that we loaded up, and he had to go through and like edit like all the cuss words out and everything. And
I can't even believe I was willing to do that. It's so terrible. Think back to it, I'm like, it wasn't even the same show. You can't. How do you even do that?
No, I feel that. I do a lot of editing work, so I've had to do like editing for our videos and stuff, and I hate it. Sometimes you're like, damn it. The moments out.
Yeah, I'll tell you, Pierce, that's what I love most about this show. I don't do shit, bro. We hit record. We hit record, we mess around as long as we want to, we end it, I hit go, and we upload it, and we are done.
Yep.
That's pretty much it. And I've kind of gotten that way. Like I'm planning to record a bunch of music this coming summer. And that's the way I'm going to go with it. Because I used to spend hours, fine tuning every little track and doing all that. I think the best thing to do, I'm going to just turn on the microphone, grab the guitar. I have 3 kids, and they're all musicians too now. I don't know. You haven't heard any of them play at any point, huh, Pierce? Jillian's playing the piano now, and Jaden's he started off on drums, and now he's like giving me a run for my money on guitar. Like he's picking up crazy fast. And then Jesse's a singer and stuff. So I'm gonna try and get them to do some stuff, but I think I'm moving away from that. Remember when I was doing the whole licensing thing? I did this thing where I was literally seeking out making money out of music licensing. Which it's like everything we're talking about, dude. It was like, and I worked really hard at it for a while. You remember that, Pierce? I came up with all kinds of stuff, a lot of cool stuff. I ended up working on a movie and stuff, doing some scoring, and it was fun.
Domino's Pizza.
Oh yeah, I had well, not like a TV commercial. It was when you call up the phone and there's music in the background. I had some music, and again, it was like it was in California actually, is where that was played, but yeah, that whole thing was a weird experience because it was exactly the shit I'm talking about that I don't like, where you have to like really think through, like they would give us themes and stuff that we had to write about. I was taking classes and stuff on this, and I don't even know where I was going with this. This is like I want to go down this road. My ugly past.
This became a story of nostalgia.
Pierce, not to change directions too quickly, but I have to ask you, did you get a chance to listen to the Travis Walton podcast, the Joe Rogan? You did listen. Yeah. Oh my God. Do you know who Travis Walton is by chance, Fronzo?
No, please tell me.
If you've ever heard of it, there was a movie that came out in I want to say it was actually 1993. I think I just mentioned that year a minute ago. Maybe that's why. But there was a movie that came out called Fire in the Sky. And it was the story about this dude who claimed to have been abducted by aliens. And it was like all that, where a lot of those traditional accounts come from, like little gray men with the big eyes and all this shit. But it was a huge movie because supposedly he was telling the truth. A lot of people have tried to discredit him for years. But he came on the Joe Rogan podcast and shared his perspective and his whole story. And it is wild, dude. It's wild because now that you've got the government coming out and saying, hey, look, we have UFO contact, it's out there, it's real, and then they slip that thing into the COVID legislation where they push through and they're like, look, you guys got 180 days to release all the information you have about extraterrestrials. So supposedly that shit's all supposed to come out. So you got all this happening. And then not long ago, Bob Lazar, the dude who worked at Area 51, was on there as well. And all of a sudden, all this stuff that people used to be shunned for, like talking about all these weird, obscure alien abduction theories and shit, all of a sudden it's coming to the forefront, and you've literally got the government admitting a lot of this stuff is real. And you're just like, holy shit. What was your impression of that, Pierce?
And remember the one that I told you about too before this, I think about like not last podcast or the podcast before, about the intergalactic treaty that we have with aliens, that supposedly there's an intergalactic treaty that we've signed, and it was from a Israeli, I want to say, astrophysicist or something. And yeah, he had all this information, and he wants to leak all this, and people are trying to shut him up too. And yeah, it's wild.
One, I'm gonna need you guys to send me this Joe Rogan. I need to see this episode
for sure.
But no, it is pretty trippy if you think about like when the government decides to release things for like the public's viewing or public announcements. It's always like, why? What's your agenda behind it? Because I never just think it's because they want to.
Yeah.
No doubt. You do wonder, like, what is the motivation for doing it? And he was actually talking about that. What's his name? Travis Walton was talking about that on the episode. He was pointing out that like anytime they release big stuff like that, it's always like on a Friday afternoon, because it gets people, they're happy to be on their weekend, getting on to doing shit. They're kind of like in one ear, out there, like, oh, that's crazy, aliens. Wow. Anyway, let's crack a brew, bud. And like just move on to your weekend. So he was talking about how that's really strategic, how they do that. But what was interesting, Mike, was he was saying that he personally felt like he thought secrecy was needed, which is so weird because he's going around, telling his experience like everybody. But at the same time, he's like, yeah, he thinks it's like a national security thing, and he's like, you can't blame the U.S. because they don't want other people to know what we know, because if they're still left guessing, that's our best case scenario, versus if they know exactly what we already know, then we don't know what they know, and they have an advantage, and it's just all this bullshit, really. But I thought it was interesting that of this dude who goes around talking about this being abducted by aliens and telling everybody, you got to believe me, it's true. And then he's like, yeah, I think the whole thing should stay secret, though, in general.
Well, then that one part, the one part that he never talked about, that Joe finally got him to get out, and he was like, oh, I'll tell you after the podcast. I'll tell you after. And Joe was like, why don't you just say it now? He's like, you already said so much wild shit already. Like,
yeah, right. Why are you holding back at this point?
You want to hold stuff off? Okay.
Yeah, dude, it's so crazy. It's just so crazy because it seems real. You really don't know. Like, I don't. It's hard to tell when people are bullshitting and when they're not. But listening to him, for sure, the Bob Lazar one's crazy, because that dude was like a physicist working at Area 51, and he had some real inside information. He didn't want to do the show. He was like crazy nervous. I think he was drinking or something, right? Didn't they give him something so that he could like calm down? Because he
but it was his producer of the show, of the movie that they made, the documentary, that brought him on to Joe Rogan.
Yeah, the Bob Lazar guy. So yeah, well, I'm going to send you some links, Fronzo. You got to get deep in this.
Let me know.
It's easy to lose a lot of time following.
Well, the thing about the Bob Lazar that was the strangest was that, he had, claimed he had worked for the company, the Area 51 company that he named. And, people said that there was no record of him ever working there. The government said that he didn't work there or anything like that. And then, like, what was it, Tony? Somebody, from back in the day that worked with Bob was like, no, I have an old company directory and it has him in it. And it showed this old company directory with Bob Lazar's name in it.
And there's so many little things like that where it's like everybody thinks the guy's full of shit, and they don't believe him. And he says all these crazy things that are happening. And the guy's like nervous and he's like, I don't even want to talk about this, but it is the truth. This is really what happened. And you find all these little things like this where they're intentionally trying to cover it up, where they're like, he never worked there. They tried to erase him from the company. And then only because somebody who had worked with him had this like super old phone directory from back in the day. There he was, Bob Lazar, listed right there with a phone number next to it. Pretty remarkable shit.
It's wild how far these organizations, these companies will go to discredit, to hide whatever it is that they're ashamed of,
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And yeah, they talked about that a lot on the episode too. They just want to cover this stuff up because they don't, I don't know what it is. What do you think, Pierce? Why are they covering it up? Is what he's talking about? Like, it's like a national security type of thing, or like, I guess who knows, because we don't even know what they know really. Like,
yeah. Well, it was like, what was it? The one article I was reading, they were talking about how they're already living amongst us. And since we have done the intergalactic treaty, if there is too much knowledge of UFOs, extraterrestrials, that we're so feeble-minded that we won't know how to comprehend it, and we'll just try to just get rid of them all and go to war, and that'll cause everything. And
yeah, I don't know about them living amongst us, but I think it sounds legit. Like we're a bunch of savages for sure. Can you imagine the technology
live amongst us?
right? They'd be like, "Are you kidding me?" Yeah.
Cool.
No, it'd be like us going out into the wild and be like, "We're gonna try and fit in with these chimpanzees." Like,
Right.
Trust me,
It's gonna be my new home.
Yeah, our place is way better. But it is crazy when you think about it, because I remember in my early days of college, it was like a basic public speaking class, like a speech class. I remember doing my final project on that, and it was on like the Drake's equation. It's Drake's equation or Drake equation. I can't remember what it's called now, but it's like the estimated number of Earth-like planets in the known universe. And I remember at the end of the speech, I had like this number rolled up like a scroll, and I pinned it on one side of the classroom, and then I like pulled it all the way across onto the next wall, and then like taped it on the other side. And I was like, that's the number of planets that have the very similar conditions to Earth in the known universe. And that was a long ass time ago. I'm an old dude. And that number's actually gotten way bigger now that we've made discoveries about how large the universe actually is. And we still don't fully know that, but we know it's much bigger than we used to think. And so you realize that, and you're just like, damn, what are the odds that there's not life? Like, there's got to be something out there. And then you think about how young our solar system is and all this shit, and you're like, man, there's probably societies out there that maybe if they don't kill themselves, like maybe we're headed for, they're out there for a really long time. And who can imagine what kind of technology they might have?
Right. I think my biggest question even would be, what do we give them? You know, what makes us interesting as humans to travel all this way? Maybe it's a resource, you know, maybe we have something that they want, but I guess we shall find out soon.
Yeah, it sounds like it. Yeah, dude, there's some outlandish, there's some pretty crazy ideas out there. Because I can tell, I studied anthropology for a long time. That was my major. Mike knows I had 25 majors I never finished back in the day. But I studied anthropology for a long time, and that was like a big thing with human evolution, was trying to understand, like, nobody really knows why all of a sudden we just went crazy in these directions. Like all of a sudden we started walking on two legs, our brains got giant, like the shape of our head changed dramatically. They think all that was around the time all of a sudden we went from very little language to like highly developed language, and then we started developing stone tools, and then eventually onto metal and shit like that, after fire, really. But no one really knows what caused like the acceleration, and I don't even know if you can call it acceleration, because it's like saying that there's a desired place to go with evolution. Evolution really just is a product of the environment and what happens. But it is pretty crazy that we changed as a species so dramatically. And then you look now, just a few, after thousands of years, went from fire till now, shit changed radically, and like we've overpopulated the earth, and like we're destroying the atmosphere, and I always tell Mike, like, if I was an alien looking at the earth, I'd be like, it looks like a disease at that place, like got all this concrete and metal growing on the surface and shit, like what is going on there? But there are people who think that maybe that's what happened, is we were actually, our species was like aliens intervened in some way and changed the course of our evolution.
That's what I always been saying, man. Remember, that's my whole thing, is the whole Egyptian thing, the whole like Colosseum thing, like these intricate details that they have, with buildings and the carvings and everything like that. Like, where are the tools that made all these things? Like, where are the tools at? Like, you can't, find a pulley. You can't find some, some rope and shit that brought all these things up. Like they said, where are the logs that they said that, helped move the stones up the thing? Like, you had to have lots of logs, and, like, it's just, I just think we did have some help or intervening, or even, I've said that before, is that we ourselves are the aliens, and we figure out a way a long time ago how to leave this place. And from time to time, we're just coming to check in on ourselves and see how we're doing.
No doubt. I feel like right now, Fron is like, what the fuck did I get into? What
Thing
show
is,
this?
I'm chilling back, but I'm so engaged. I'm like, damn, this is exactly what I thought it was. Like,
yeah, I thought of you, Pierce, when they said that on that episode where they were saying the possibility that we are actually the aliens in the future coming back to check on ourselves, and we've somehow intervened with our own course of evolution. Wild shit, mind-bending shit. But the truth is, when you learn more about like physics and the state of the universe, like it really blows your mind. Like it doesn't, the world is not what we think it is. And we think it exists within these confines of, 3 dimensions. And then we've got arguably a dimension of time. But then you get into physics and they're like, no, there's all these uncoiled dimensions. And these are scientists that have like, can show this mathematically. And you're like, wait, what? Like there's a bunch of little universes everywhere that just haven't really expanded or exploded. And mathematically, they really could at any time. And you're like, what? Like, that's reality? Yeah.
Or like, the whole parallel, universes and lives and everything, because every decision, has 2 ways to go. You're either this way or this way. And obviously the one that you're living is the one you kept on chosen, but there's also that parallel universe where it was chosen this way too. It was, gone the opposite way.
Yeah, I have do you guys, either one of you watch Community or have seen Community?
Yes, exactly.
Yes. Love
with the
Community.
dice.
Yeah.
Dice,
so I believe that we're not in the darkest timeline, but maybe the second darkest. It's pretty damn.
Talk to me about Community. What is that, guys? I don't know.
It was a show back in I want to say the mid 2010s.
No, this was like early 2000s.
Okay, yeah, early 2000s.
Yeah,
it was
like
with
mid 2000s, I'd say.
Yeah, it was with Joel McHale, Ken Jeong,
Donald Glover, Danny Pudi.
Yep. Yeah,
Kevin
there was
Chase.
there's all these people on the show, and it was funny, but I think like it didn't run its course because like a couple of people left and got fired. Chevy Chase got fired, and then the show
got fired for a season.
Yep. And then and the director, the creator, got fired for that one season. And then he came back for season 5. But the one that really hurt them was when Donald Glover left, and then it was never the same because they had an aspect of the show where it was him and Pootie together all the time, and it was Troy and Abed in the morning, and they had like their own little show that they always messed around with, and there was like no cameras, and it always like they just sat there in like their little study room, and they would like act like it was like a morning show, and people would walk by and they'd be like, "There's no cameras." Like,
they did like quirky best friend toddler shit. Like just, like let's make some honey today. Okay, let's figure out how we do that.
They were making like blanket forts and pillow forts inside the school.
Yeah, sounds good.
It's actually on Netflix, Tony. If you want to watch it, dude,
I will
totally watch it,
dude. It's hilarious because like every season they had a season where it was like a ridiculous like contest that like fucked up the school. Like a couple of times, there was like a paintball contest where it was like, where it was like the last person standing had priority registration, and they got to register for whatever classes without getting kicked out of any of the classes. And so, you need to watch it, dude. It's funny.
Yeah,
it's based in Colorado.
I was gonna say it's like 6 best friends, or like weirdos that become best friends here in Colorado, community college.
Yep,
it's hilarious.
Oh, dude,
it's like no funding at the school, so they build off that. So a lot of the shit is like in house, and it's over there. It's wonderful.
Oh, dude, I'm definitely gonna check it out. I saw that it was on Netflix. It looks funny. It's got a lot of funny people in it.
Dude, it's hilarious.
You remember that, Pierce? I missed a lot of pop culture right around that time.
Yeah,
I was never up on anything, dude. I could not keep up. Yeah, wild stuff. So at some point, I'm going to send you those links, Fronzo. You're going to have to check it out. You're going to have to come back. I also want you to come back when you guys are going to do some kind of a performance or something we can go check out. Me and Mike like to get out there, especially once things get back to normal. It's so weird right now. But we'd love to come out and check out a show or anything like that. Even if it's before then, if you guys do something that's live streamed, please.
Yeah, actually, not to cut you off, we actually have a built-in, or I don't want to speak too quickly on this, but there's a company called X Life, and they're called X Life Co. They're coming out here. They're originally from Chicago. They're residential, mostly do housing and development, but they're coming here in Colorado, and they're opening up an apartment complex / residency, and they're having an indoor theater, which we've already talked about having shows there with them, kind of working in collaboration. So definitely when that gets underway, I'll let you know about that, because we should have some shows popping from there.
Oh, 100%, dude. We'll have you back on. Me and Mike would like to come out and check out something like that for sure. That'd be fun, dude.
I can't wait until when it's nicer weather and everything. Then outdoor venues are going to be like a real thing without any kind of capacity restrictions. You know what I mean? Like,
oh yeah. Well, and there's a lot of stand-up comedians doing it now. I remember I heard Bill Burr talking about it, where he was doing like, they do these outdoor shows where people are like in their cars.
In the car, yeah. He was clowning on that though. He's like, they're in their fucking cars and they're just like, maybe they're listening to the radio, not even listening to me.
Dude, I had the weirdest dream the other day, and you just made me think of it, because Bill Burr was actually in my dream. It was funny. He was wearing a New Orleans Saints. He was like decked out in New Orleans Saints gear, but he's a Patriots fan, so I don't.
Yeah, he's from Boston.
Yeah, I don't understand. But he was like just hanging with us. It was like me, you, him. You had a new house. You were like barbecuing out in the backyard.
I do. You have a new house.
Yeah, totally. Well, that's probably where that came from. I don't know where these dreams come from, these crazy dreams. But it was hilarious, dude, because my dad was there. And so he's like standing on the yard and he's like smoking a joint on your yard. And then I look over at you and you're rolling up a joint too. And I was like, oh, Pierce, really? Oh, that's interesting. And then I looked at you and you're like, bro, yeah, thanks to you, I do this every day now. And I was like, no, what have I done?
Bad influence.
Oh yeah, no, that's wild. I always wonder where dreams come from. It's like just the unraveling of your subconscious. Some people think that you're just like you're trying to connect it into a coherent story, and then some people say, nah, it's just random shit, it's just flashing in your mind. And some people say no, it like has deep meaning and all this stuff. So
that reminds me of like the Turbo Man thing. You remember Turbo Man, Schwarzenegger, when he's sitting there talking about the Sinbad is telling him about his story about his childhood, how he never got the toy that he ever wanted, and now Sinbad's like this mail carrier that hasn't amounted to anything. And then fucking he's imagining his son in a mail carrier outfit, like whining about this toy that he didn't get, and he's swigging back some whiskey. And then he was like, no, what did I do? That was you just had a jingle all the way moment, Tony.
Exactly that.
No doubt. Well, man, unless you got something else to cover, Pierce, I think I'm feeling pretty solid here. What do you think, buddy? It's been about an hour 17. Not too bad. It went by like really fast. We covered everything from Black Actors Guild to aliens taking over. And Tony's weird ass.
That's the kind of atmosphere I'm trying to be in,
My kind of guy right here. Sure, I'd love to have you back, man. I'd love to have maybe some of your crew at some point too. We can have a few people on here, right, Pierce? I don't think there's any issues with that.
No limit.
No limit.
We got that.
No limit. Okay.
We got that Zoom flow.
That Zoom paper. Okay. We're going to splurge on it. You guys let me know. I'll find the crew a day and we can definitely make it work. But yeah, I really appreciate y'all having me on. I've listened to y'all before. Y'all are hilarious. So I'm glad to be on for the first time, and I'm waiting for the next one.
Oh, man. Appreciate that, dude. That's an honor. Thanks for checking out the show. Thanks for coming on. We'll have you back again for sure. What do you think, Pierce? You want to wrap this thing up or what?
Yeah, sir. I think we're all good to go. I think with that, $1, it's a wrap. Cheers, buddy.
Cheers.
All right.
And the music's not the music's not playing. I don't know what that is. Supposed to be playing right now. It's not playing. Just pretend. We'll just rock out like the music.
Well, the live stream stopped.